So let's go back now to our vocabulary. We're going to start out talking about criminals, and in particular about crime, okay, and people involved in crime. There's a lot of words, as you're going to see, that can be used either as noun, adjective, verb forms when talking about crime. So we're going to get those straight, because one of the most common mistakes I see, not only I hear not only with speaking, but also I see in the writing, is word forms being used the wrong way. So we're going to look at crime involving people, crime involving law enforcement people. So the first people there are the criminals that create the crime, that are doing the crime. The next group of people we'll look at are the law enforcement, the people that are fighting crime. Following that, we'll be looking at different types of crime, and there's quite a bit of different types. When we get to our questions later in the lesson, you'll kind of see the reason behind talking about different types of crime. Especially when it comes to crime in your area, you might be asked what type of crime is most prevalent? What kind of crime happens the most in your area, in Vietnam, or in your city? After that, we'll be talking about punishment and rehabilitation. So this will give you more options. Uh-oh, we have someone on. One moment. I'm going to mute you guys. You're on. Okay. Punishment and rehabilitation. A lot of times when you're asked about crime, because it's talking about a problem, a social problem, it's going to also want you to provide some options, or you'll be asked to provide some opinion about how we can either stop crime or how criminals might be treated. So therefore, we'll talk not only about punishment, of course, the classics, putting somebody in jail or giving somebody a fine, but then also about the possibility of rehabilitation and getting criminals ready to go back into society rather than just using solely strict punishment. Okay. And then we'll be looking at a video talking about the causes of crime. The video will be interesting for you, different accent than my own. It's an Australian accent, but I do like a lot of the ideas he talks about in terms of causes of crime. And there's even more vocabulary there that is just presented to you in more of a lecture type format, just about 5 minutes, but it's completely subtitled, and we'll also be picking up extra vocabulary. That all being done, finally, we'll get to the speaking part of the lesson, and you'll be using all this vocabulary we're about to learn in the lesson, in your speaking, and then I'll be giving you feedback as well. Okay. So let's first go into the vocabulary. Now you see we have people, criminals, we have people, law enforcement, we have types of crime, and we have punishment and rehabilitation. So what I'd like to do is introduce those to you in different chunks. For example, we'll start with people and criminals first, words to describe different types of criminals. Okay. Once we do that, we're done with the slide. Really do please pay attention, because then I'm going to be calling on you after you see each slide. It'll go to a new slide, and I'll pull up one of the words that you just saw, or I'll pull up a definition, and you'll have to tell me if you can remember what the word is for that definition. And then I'm going to ask you to use that vocabulary word in a sentence. So basically, you'll see the first slide. I'll do that now. And then I'll let you know what's going to happen next. Let's look at the first definitions before I ask you any questions. Okay, this is academic vocabulary talking about people who commit crimes. Of course, one person is a criminal. Okay. This word criminal often gets mixed up with crime, where my students might say something like, we need to prevent criminals. No, more you'd want to prevent crime, or you could use it as an adjective and say, we want to prevent criminal activity. But generally, when you're just only using the word criminal, by itself. It's a person. A criminal is the person, not a crime. A criminal is the person who commits a crime. And also, please do remember that collocation, commits a crime. Okay, because you can say they do a crime or they make a crime. I would understand you. It sounds awkward, but the collocation is to commit a crime. To commit a crime. Now, other words you could use for criminal could be a wrongdoer or a lawbreaker. I think starting off with, if you're going to tell me about criminals in your area, I think early in whatever you say, you in your answer, you should use criminal the first time. After you use criminal the first time, I know we're talking about criminals. Then the next reference, you could say wrongdoer or people who break the laws, right? Or lawbreakers. So start out with the answer using criminal first, and then use those other terms you see later in your answer if you want to avoid repetition. Okay. Another kind of specialty person who commits a crime is called a arsonist or an arsonist. An arsonist. Please try to repeat these words to yourself. You don't need to turn on your mic right now, but do repeat these words to yourself because I'm going to be calling on you in just a moment. You'll have to be able to pronounce them correctly, okay? So arsonist. Who is an arsonist? An arsonist basically is a person who starts fires. So the crime is called arson. The person who lights things on fire is an arsonist. And, we're actually seeing this type of crime more recently lately in many countries where we're seeing riots or political protests in the street. Now, in many countries, to go out and protest itself is not a crime. You are just a protester. But if it escalates and people start lighting things on fire in the cities, you'll see happen sometimes. Now they've committed a crime, and the crime is arson, and you are called an arsonist. An arsonist if you are the one who starts fires. Arsonists also kind of go up camping and in the mountains. Doesn't just have to be in the city, but the next one, I know it's a very familiar term to you. I hope not too familiar, but it is murderer. Murderer. Remember, we are talking about people, not the action, not the verb. So the verb is murder. The person who does this act is the murderer. And this act is called a homicide. I'll say that one more time. Homicide. Homicide is one person, unfortunately, who kills another. And I will kind of preface my vocabulary here by saying to you, some of the terms we see today are not super pleasant, but this is a topic on IELTS that you will need to talk about. So yes, I don't love talking about murderers, but make sure anyways, you get that second syllable or that third syllable when you're talking about the person. This is common enough in writing where people use murder to talk about the person and they forget the ER. But it's super easy to make this mistake in speaking, to not give the when you say murderer, right? It's a very easy pronunciation mistake. Even if you're in your head, you're thinking murderer, it's easy to come out as just murder. So remember, murder, action, murderer is the person who does it, okay? A felon, a felon. Again, this is more of a general term, whereas arsonist and murderer are very specific. Felon is more general, but it's not as general as criminal, because criminal is anybody who commits any crime. A felon is a person who commits a serious crime. Like, for example, grand theft, which means we'll see later, stealing something over the amount of $1,000. So if they're stealing expensive jewelry, if they steal a car, or a felon is also a person who commits a violent crime where somebody is struck or worse, or stabbed or shot. All of those crimes are called felonies, which we'll see later, but the person who does them is called a felon. A felon. So although felon is synonymous with criminal, remember it's not as general. It's only people who commit serious crimes who are called felons. Felons. Thief. Thief. This is a word that's often used in teaching speaking just because it has that th in the front, and the f at the end, thief, thief. Please try to say that on your own at home. Thief, thief. Now the action is theft, theft, but the person is thief, thief. Okay, and again, you know, a thief is somebody who steals property or money. Kind of different categories of thieves, which we're going to see in one moment. Thief is more of the general term. Okay, but remember, it's just regarding somebody who has stolen property or money. Okay, is a thief. Not all criminals are thieves, just some. Gangster. Now, gangster years ago used to basically refer to mafia type figures. But over the last few decades, street crime and street gangs have become increasingly common. So this term gangster is a person involved in any type of gang or mafia. Now, please remember again, a criminal is anybody who commits a crime. Gangster, gangster. A gangster is the people who are involved in a gang or in the mafia, right? Where they're colluding or working together to commit crime is a gangster. Okay, so not everybody who commits a crime is necessarily a gangster. Another type of criminal is a white collar criminal. And you will be asked what type of crime happens in your country. And it might be white collar crime, right? But the name of the person who does that is a white collar criminal. Now, when you think of white collar, you usually think of the business world, right? So white collar criminal is somebody who has committed a crime relating to business. One of the most, I don't want to say popular, because that, again, that makes it sound a good thing. It's not a good thing. One of the most prevalent, let's use that word, prevalent, meaning widespread, but not good. Prevalent, one of the most prevalent types of white collar crime is embezzlement. And you can see that word in the definition on the bottom slide there. Embezzlement. Embezzlement. It's a embezzlement. Embezzlement is when a professional worker at a business finds a way to steal money from the business where he works. So maybe he does a transaction and he sells something for the business and he gives most of the money to the company, but he takes a little extra and puts it in his pocket. He's stealing from the company. That's called embezzlement. Okay, so that's white collar crime. There can also be different types of corruption that are considered white collar crime. Cyber crime is not on this list, but that's also something that you might want to think about. We'll talk about in a moment. But for anyways, right now, this person we're talking about, the person is the white collar criminal. Okay. And the next one is assaulter, which isn't my favorite term. This is again from a Cambridge list. I like the word assailant, which I'll share with you in a moment as well. Assailant. Here it's assaulter. Anyways, this is someone who violently attacks another person. Okay, so it's someone who is violent in a way and assaults somebody or hurts somebody violently is an assaulter or an assailant. Okay, so let's go back through these. We have criminal, arsonist, felon, thief, gangster, white collar criminal, and assaulter. What I want to do next is go to a blank slide. These definitions will come up one by one. I will call on your name. And again, remember, my pronunciation is not fantastic, so have your ears on and listening to me. I do have my list here, which I can tap on you guys, so I'll pull that up as well. But if I do unmute you or ask you to answer a question, what you need to do is look at the definition and tell me what criminal person we're talking about. So one more time, is it a criminal, arsonist, murderer, felon, thief, gangster, white collar criminal, assaulter, or assailant? All right, let's go to our next slide. And here comes our first definition. A person who steals money or property. Now, when I call on you, you have to tell me the name of this person, what the technical term is, and you need to use this person in one quick sentence for me also. So let's try this first. Again, this is my first time trying this with you guys, but I think you can do it. Nguyen Thi Thuy Linh, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Who is a person who steals money or property?
Thief is a person who steals property.
That was pretty good pronunciation. Can you use thief in a sentence for me? And you can take a couple seconds to think first. Try to use it in one sentence for me.
Oh.
Whenever you're ready, you can take your time.
A thief stole property.
Mm-hmm. From who? Doesn't matter. You can make it up. From
a thief stole my property.
Okay. What did he steal? What property?
Sorry.
Anything. What did he steal? Instead of property, give me another noun. What did he steal from you? A thief stole my
anything. My phone.
Yes. Okay, good. A thief stole my phone. Really good. I love that you caught yourself and corrected and went back and changed steal to stole. And that's exactly what you should do. So very good answer and good pronunciation. Not an easy one. Thief. Okay. Easy definition, not an easy pronunciation. A person who starts fire. Let's go to Tran Ling, please. Tran Ling, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Who's the person who starts fires?
I think a person who starts fires is awareness.
Good. And I'm going to help you with that pronunciation. I know this is kind of a newer word. Let's bring up the word first. And remember, it's 3 syllables. Arsonist. And make sure you get that t on the end. Arsonist. Try one more time.
Arsonist.
Yeah, that's way better. That's really good. Can you use arsonist in a sentence? And please do take time to think if you need to.
A lot of arsonists in the US.
Okay, good. And if you would, what you'd want to do, and I'll say a sentence and have you repeat after me, but you made this word plural, which is always tricky because it's ST and now you put another S, which is fine. But let's do a full sentence there again. There are a lot of arsonists in the US. Try it one more time for me, Chun-Ling.
There are a lot of arsonists Sorry.
It's hard, huh?
Say it again.
Yeah, go ahead. Try again. Yeah.
There are a lot of arsonists in
in the US. Okay, very good. Yeah, keep working on that one. Arsonists. It is by making it plural makes it that much harder. But good job and good sentence. Thank you. Okay, let's go to our next definition here. This is a person who commits a crime in the business world. All right, and let's go to ngọc, please. Văn Thị Ngọc, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hello. Are you ready for this definition? Can you give me the word first?
White collar criminal.
Yeah. Criminal, yeah, white collar criminal. Can you try to use white collar criminal in a sentence for me, please?
Let's see. Can I say white collar crime?
Yeah, you can use crime if you want to use the action. That's okay. I'll let you do that.
Yep. There have been increases in white collar crime.
Yep. Okay, good. And you can say there have been increases if you're talking like over a certain period of time. More often, you'd probably say there has been an increase in white collar crime. Try that. There has been an increase in white collar crime.
There has been an increase in white collar crime.
Okay, good. And you know, crime, the I am is never easy for my students to say. It's like the word lime, and you did it right. You kind of, almost make it 2 syllables to make it sound crime. And you did that. So good pronunciation there. And yeah, you're done. That's a white collar criminal. Thank you very much. No, let's go on to our next vocabulary definition. Ooh, a person who commits a homicide. Again, a homicide. Homicide is countable, by the way. If you wanted to use that in a writing or speaking, homicides are common in big cities. I'm sorry. You can use homicides as a plural as well. Okay. But who is the person who commits homicide? Hương, I see you there. Next.
Yes.
Who does that? Who's the person? And remember all the syllables. Who is the person that does this?
Murderer.
Oh, wow. You had excellent pronunciation. I thought I was going to get someone on that one, and you nailed it. Okay, very good. Now, if you can, please use that word murderer in a sentence, please.
Yes. A murderer broke into a house and killed the whole family.
Okay. Wow. It's serious, but yeah, that's our topic today. And good pronunciation. Really good. I thought I was going to get you for sure on that 3rd syllable. Murderer. Very well done. Thank you. That was Gina. Yeah. Okay. And going on now to our next word and our next student. Let me roll down my list here, guys. Just a second. Anh Minh. Anh Minh, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Anh Minh. Excellent. Can you tell me, on the bottom of the screen, you see somebody who violently attacks another. Who is that?
Assaulter.
Assaulter. Good. I'm going to give you another word, which I'll spell out for you guys after the break, but just try to say this one for me, or I'll message it to you guys. Assailant. Can you say assailant?
Assailant.
Assailant. Yeah, A-N-T. I'll send that one, guys, to you guys just in a second here. But an assailant or an assaulter are both people who violently attack another. Oh, there's the assailant. It came up on this one. All right, good. Use assailant for me. It's synonymous with assaulter, but give me one sentence using assailant. Yeah, take your time. You're fine.
Assailant. uh, punched. Assailant punched two women in the
Okay.
elevator.
In the elevator. Wow, you used a
Yeah.
lot of big vocabulary there. You're punched. When you come that NCH, you came out with a t instead of a d. That's what you should do. So punched two women in an
Punched.
elevator. Okay, very good. Yeah, proper use. Thank you. Assailant. Nicely done. All right, let's go to our next definition. Oh, this is any person who commits a crime. Phương Mi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, you get this one. A person who commits a crime. What's that one?
There is criminal.
A criminal. Yeah, remember the person is the criminal. Can you use criminal in a sentence for me?
Yes. Let me think.
Take your time.
Last morning, I read a article in the internet which reported a lot of criminals who assault 5 women.
Okay.
A criminal assault 5 women.
Good. The only thing I might change is I might use the perfect tense because it reported criminals who had assaulted, and use that in the perfect tense. Who had assaulted, the past perfect. Try it again with who had assaulted, the same sentence.
Last morning, I read an article in the internet which reported a criminal who had assaulted 5 women.
Okay, very good. That works. Now, instead of last morning, usually we'll say last night, and then anything aside from night, just use yesterday first. So you can just say yesterday morning when you're talking about the day before is fine. I understand when you say last morning, the meaning, but more natural to say yesterday morning. Otherwise, though, great use of the word. Everything very good. Thank you very much. A person involved in the gang. Kang An, are you there? Kang.
Yes.
Can you give me that one, please? A person involved in a gang?
Gangster.
A gangster, yeah. Can you use gangster now in a full sentence for me?
Anyone need to be careful with gangster.
Okay, and I would then, if you're using that as a general statement and saying these type of people in general, make it plural. So gangsters, and this one comes out as a z, gangsters. Try that sentence one more time, making gangster plural for me. Can you remember it? Or just try to use gangsters in a sentence again, but make it plural.
Anyone need to be careful with gangsters.
Good, gangsters. Talking about in general. Anytime you're talking about not that one gangster, but gangsters anywhere, then use the plural. Otherwise, very good, very well done and good sentence. Thank you. Let's keep going, guys. We're getting there. A person who commits a serious crime. Now, if you guys can get the pronunciation on this one down, I'll be very impressed with that. Let's see, who else do I have here that I haven't talked to yet? Let's go to Lop. Lop, can you pronounce this one for me? Thanh Lop.
I forgot the word.
It was a hard one, probably on this list, one of the most difficult. I'll give it to you there. It's felon.
Felon. Yeah.
Felon. And so it's first syllable stress, soft E. Felon, a felon. Can you use felon in a sentence for me?
So in Grand Theft Auto 5, the main character is a felon.
Okay, so the main character is a felon. Yeah, absolutely. If he's stealing cars, and that's where Grand Theft Auto comes from, by the way. It's known now as a game, but the word Grand Theft Auto is a technical police term. And Grand Theft is any theft over $1,000. Grand Theft Auto is particularly automobiles, of course. but the idea of grand theft. So yeah, anytime that grand theft happens, it is done by a felon, Very good. Thank you. Good job, Lo. Very good pronunciation. The person on the receiving end of a crime, guys, we didn't talk about this one. I'm going to bypass it, is a victim. So just remember that for later. The victim is the person the crime happens to. This is just under gangster on this slide here. The victim. The victim is not the person doing it. It's the person who has committed the crime. Now, if a crime has happened, but nobody has been caught yet, but we think we know who did it, then that person is the suspect. That person is the suspect. And again, I'll feed that one to you later. So the suspect is the person that we think did it, but we're not sure yet. And the victim is the person the crime happened to. Okay, we're going to go now to people who fight crime. So you have the police. The police are law enforcement officials. Okay. A task force. A task force. Now, a task force is a special kind of police. When they ask you ways to prevent crime in big cities, speaking of task force is a great answer because it's more specific than police. Now, task force are policemen, but within a group of police at a police department, certain members will be sent to tackle certain issues. So you could be on a riot task force, which means when protests happen, you go out to stop the protests. You could be on a gang task force, which means you focus on street gangs. You could be on drug task force, which means that you focus on illegal drug activity. Or SWAT, which is emergency police team, which you're probably familiar with. So anyways, a task force, when you're asked of ways to prevent crime, remember that one, task force. Okay. And detectives, again, are special police who investigate. And you might want to try saying that word, investigate crimes. So detectives investigate crimes, right? I mean, they can obviously solve them as well, but detectives are usually brought on after a crime happens. They don't prevent crimes before they happen. They investigate the crime scene after they happen. Okay, and it's another branch of the police. I'm not going to go through with those on the pronunciation. I'm going to bypass that one because we have a lot more to get to. Let's go now to more types of crime. Okay, types of crime. Mugging. A mugging. Now, when you talk about city crimes, this is one of the most popular. A mugging is not only robbing something or stealing something from a person's body, but also attacking that person. So a mugging is an attack, violent, and also the action of stealing something from somebody within the same action. Arson, we talked about before. A person who starts a fire, or I'm sorry, the act of starting a fire is arson. Murder is the act of killing another person. A felony is a serious crime like assault or grand theft or any sort of really heinous violent action is considered a felony. Grand theft is stealing something worth $1,000 or more. This is going by, of course, US terms, but in most English-speaking countries, grand theft is considered stealing something of great value. It's opposite of petty theft. Petty theft is stealing something, property from another person that's under $1,000. That's usually worth less than that. Now, I have a wallet, phone, and watch as some examples. I know some phones can be more than $1,000 these days, but usually stealing smaller items like that, you will be charged with petty theft, stealing smaller things. And shoplifting. Shoplifting is stealing from a store, a mall, an outdoor market, a supermarket. Stealing from a business is shoplifting. Oh, White collar crime we spoke to a little bit before, which is crime in the business world, such as embezzlement. So white collar criminal, this is white collar crime. Rape, an unpleasant one, but rape is crime of a sexual nature. So a crime happening where somebody's body is physically attacked and something of a sexual nature could happen. Okay, this can happen to men and women. And again, rape is that one. So I'm going to actually use some of these, the ones that I think are a little bit more relevant. Oh, and assault here we have is violent crime. When there is an assault, that's a violent crime or an attack. Okay, I do want to test you guys on some of these ones. I'm going to kind of pick and choose. Killing another person, I'm going to let it go because we probably know that. Stealing from a store. Let's see how we do on these now. Stealing from a store. Phương, are you there? My Phương.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Do you remember what is stealing from a store? What is that action called?
I think the action called stealing from a store is shoplifting.
Yes, really good. Shoplifting. Can you give me shoplifting in a sentence, please?
Wait a moment.
Mm-hmm.
There has just been a shoplifting in the bakery.
Okay. There's just been a shoplifting in the bakery. Someone stole the cake. Okay, yeah, you could use it that way. You could use it that way. Shoplifting also is kind of used often in a lot of in a general way as well, where you can say a lot of shoplifting occurs in Hanoi or big cities, something like that. Yeah, but shoplifting just occurred in the bakery. I'll let that go. That's all right. Thank you, Mike. And let's go on to a violent act. And this one's for Kian. Kian, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Kian, can you give me this one, a violent act? What is that? Good word for that.
Assault.
An assault. Yes. So assault is very commonly used in talking about this act. We saw assaulter before, but then that second word, assailant. Assailant is used more often for the person. Assault is used more for the action. Kian, can you use assault in a sentence for me, please?
There was an assault in a supermarket this afternoon.
Okay. There was an assault in a supermarket this afternoon. Good. And if you know exactly the supermarket, then you might use the is the only thing I would change there, just as the article, using the definite article. There was an assault in the supermarket this afternoon, but correctly used. That's fine. Thank you, Kian. You did a good job and good pronunciation. Great, really good on that final T, assault. Very good. Thank you. And attacking and robbing someone. Viet Ang, are you there? Do you remember what this one was, Viet Ang?
Is it mugging?
It is mugging. And I knew you would be a good one for this because that wasn't an easy one to remember for some people. It's a mugging. Viet Ang, give me mugging in a sentence, please.
Someone just mugged me.
Okay, so you use the past tense. Someone just mugged me. Good. And in a mugging, the violence can always be, just to let the class know, of different levels. If you just get punched or quickly pushed and something's taken from you, it's still considered a mugging. Okay. Another word you can use that's very similar is jumped, just like the regular verb jump. If you are jumped, you are often mugged. But jumped usually refers to more than one person jumping somebody and beating them up and taking their material or their valuables. But in this case, I just got mugged means someone just got you and attacked. Yeah, and the person who does this is a mugger. We didn't see that before. M-U-G-G-E-R is a mugger, is the person who does that. Very good, Viet Anh. Thank you for that one. Good job remembering that vocabulary there. A serious crime like assault or grand theft. How about, let's see, who have I not gotten to here yet? Huang, where are you? Huang Ang.
I'm here.
You there? Okay. Would you remember, what is this one? A serious crime like assault or grand theft?
Is felony.
A felony. Very good. Now you can use this definitely if you want to. You can use this as a plural as well. Felonies with a z, felonies. Try to use that in a sentence for me. You can use plural or singular.
I can't even think that he have committed a serious crime like that felony.
Okay, so I think in this case, use the term imagine. I can't, and because serious crime is a felony, let's take serious crime out of your sentence and say it this way. I can't even imagine committing a felony. I can't even imagine committing a felony. Try saying that again for me.
I can't imagine committing a felony.
Very good. Good. Felony. And with that L in the middle, it gets tricky there. But I can't imagine committing a felony. Yeah, thank you. And very good memory on that vocab as well. Okay, guys, let's keep moving on here. Stealing something from another person that's not valuable, that's less than 1,000 is petty theft. And we saw that white collar crime we talked about before in a business. Starting a fire. Let's see if we can remember this one. Phương Anh, are you there?
Yes.
Phương Anh, can you give me this one? Somebody, I'm sorry, the action of starting a fire?
Arson.
Arson. Good. Can you use arson in a sentence?
The political debate causes arson crimes to be more regular.
Okay, good. And what I would change in that sentence is don't use the singular for the political debates. Because you're speaking generally, use plural. Political debates cause arson to happen more often, or whichever way you said that. So start with political debates and try to use your sentence again, using that in the plural. Can you try one more time for me? Use political debates in the beginning of your sentence.
Political debates causes arson activity to be more regular.
Okay, good. Good. And change causes to cause. Political debates cause arson to be more regular, or arson activity to be more regular is fine. But yes, and again, that's usually where we are seeing arson right now, mostly, and is surrounding sort of political confrontations or debates. Very good and very appropriate example. Thank you. Stealing something worth more than 1,000 is grand theft. I'm going to let that one go. Crime of a sexual nature was rape. I'm going to let that one go and get into, I'm going to give you our last round of vocabulary for punishment, and then we'll take a break and come back, and I have a couple more students to ask. Then we're going to move on with speaking part 2. My first word for punishment here is incarceration. Incarceration. Students, this is an excellent word to use if you can pronounce it correctly. Incarceration. Incarceration. Incarceration means being not only convicted of a crime, but being sent to jail. If you are sent to jail, the verb is incarcerated. So the verb is you are incarcerated. Incarceration is the action. So you can say that one way to prevent crime is incarceration, which means sending people to jail. All right. Very academic word. If you said jailed, so he committed a crime and he was jailed, that's also okay. If you say imprisoned, has a similar meaning, but incarcerated means particularly by a legal force. Okay, so if you are incarcerated, you are sent to jail, incarcerated. And my next word here, just a second, please. I gotta move this out of my way. Good. Fined. Of course, you know, being fined is being punished monetarily for committing a crime. The verb is to fine somebody. To serve time. Now, to serve time means to go to jail for a specific period of time. So he had to serve time. Or you can say he had to serve 5 years, which means that he had to spend 5 years in jail, to serve time. A jail sentence. In this case, I just arbitrarily took 2 year. 2-year jail sentence. This is the length of time a convict has to spend in jail. The verb is sentenced to jail. So it's usually the judge in the courtroom who will sentence you to jail. When you are sentenced, he will give you a number of years. So you can say he was sentenced to 3 years. He was sentenced to 5 years. Or one way to stop murder is to give somebody a life sentence, which means they have to spend the rest of their life in jail, a life sentence. An ex-convict, often used shortly as an ex-con, is somebody who has spent time in jail and then was released. So he has been released. So this is a person who was in jail and now released, which leads to repeat offender. And a repeat offender is somebody who's been released from jail and then commits another crime. And repeat offenders, often when you're talking about the idea of using jail to stop crime, using incarceration to stop crime, well, sometimes it doesn't work. You put someone in jail, they come out and they go right back to crime, right? So this is an argument against jail, the idea of repeat offenders, people who come out of jail and just start doing crime again. And another option that can happen to a criminal is they have to do community service. Community service is unpaid work that benefits the community. So maybe a child or a teenager, he gets caught stealing a phone or he gets caught shoplifting. Well, the judge doesn't say he goes to jail because he's 15 years old, but maybe the judge will say you have to do community service for 2 months. And then that person would have to go clean the roads, maybe volunteer in a hospital or maybe in a homeless shelter, do some kind of work for so many hours to help the community. Because they did something wrong, they are sentenced to community service. Okay, instead of a jail sentence, they are sentenced to community service. Students, I'm going to leave these terms and this up shared for right now. We have just a few more vocab words, then we're going to get into you guys speaking. Let's take a 10-minute break. I have at the moment just about 2 minutes before. So I'll tell you what, why don't we come back at 7:07 to make it easy to remember?